product design for last 35 years as an independent design house. When few days back, Rajendra gave me a call that Kishore, there's this event on this Digital India Smart Health, and you need to talk about it. I said, and you need to link it with smart cities and standards. I said, smart cities I understand, standards I understand, but how do I link it with? And since I'm not a medical profession, I just looked into myself as a consumer, as a citizen. And if I'm living in a smart city, what would I expect as a citizen? And what I realized was, we have a lot of super specialty hospitals and all the places where you go, you get a VIP treatment, you get taken care of much better than in a 5-star hotel. And you are given super special treatment, super VIP treatment, everything. And everything is taken care of as long as you have the money to pay for it. But how about when I'm working, earning my $1 million package every year, working for an MNC or doing my own things? How about my family members at home, whether they are in the same town or whether they are in a remote town? How do we take care of them? And how can technology, how can these smart cities be made more livable for them, more friendly to them? And then when I realized that there's a whole lot of opportunity for different kind of set of people in smart cities paradigm. So since you're talking, what is a smart city? I would not like to bore you, but this is one of the latest official definition as of June 2015 by ISO. This is what a citizen can expect from a smart city. A smart city should be described as a city that dramatically increases the pace at which it improves its sustainability and resilience by fundamentally improving how it engages society, how it applies collaborative leadership methods, how it works across disciplines and city systems, and how it uses data and integrated technologies in order to transform services and quality of life to those in and involved with the city residents, business visitors. With this as a backdrop, I'll not bore you with all the definition drivers. You can take it in this thing, because in 10 minutes I cannot sum up a lot of things. But one thing, there are two aspects to a smart city. One is the infrastructure, the other is the citizens. And when we talk about from a dumb city to a smart city, so to say dumb cities that we are living in so far, because now we are supposed to transform our cities into smart. So it's taken we are in dumb cities. The approach for infrastructure has been siloed. Every vertical, be it transport, gas, water, power, water, and any other services are being handled in a siloed mode. Each utility, there's a separate agency, a separate body who runs that services. They've got their own infrastructure. They are, responsible for setting up, operating, maintaining all that infrastructure respectively. To a converged common infrastructure in a smart city where we have converged this thing, what we are looking at in a smart city is we have a common ICT backbone for all the services. Because if every service is going to use ICT, why let each utility have their own set of set of cable fibers running across the way so that they have a right-of-way problem and all those issues? Why can't we simply have a common ICT backbone for a particular city or a geographical territory, which will cater to all the stakeholders, and which will also save a whole lot on the ROI of any particular infrastructure? So basically, smart infrastructure is a very complex thing. It's a system of system and networks of network. So we need to look at it from a smart infrastructure, which will have interdependence in so many aspects of the applications, layers, and everything. And one of the major thing in a smart infrastructure or smart city would be the integrated management center. There's also, because there's a lot of recursive cycle into data in a smart city. Information that is generated is information that is consumed, which in turn adds to the information generated, which becomes information used again. So that is why we need to have a central, unified, integrated management center, unified and secure ICT backbone, which makes a whole lot of sense for a smart city as an infrastructure. These are some pictorials. And then this is a typical ICT architecture for a smart city that people have been, projecting. But then there's another aspect. When we say ICT, there's a new challenge. Now, the securing the fifth dimension. Fifth dimension, the cyberspace has been very aptly named as fifth dimension, beyond the fourth dimension that we are used to. Fourth still is the time, and fifth is now cyberspace. we need to really make our cyber ecosystem very, very secure. And this is a typical information security infrastructure, the way IT people look at it. Then when we talk about smart infrastructure, it also needs secure, not only IT, we need communication. Communication is the backbone which brings data from each node to a central servers, cloud, or whatever you want to call them, to make the big data and data analytics and all the IT processes, software services, start running and giving us deliverables. And this is a typical security architecture for a smart city. Then we have some new shifting paradigms about the smart home, smart building, the connected world. Then we have another aspect, sustainability. We are talking about green movement, renewables, smart and green communities, smart and green planet. Then some technological interventions for this thing are, we are talking about DC microgrids in power to save our own electricity. We are going back to the new paradigm, the old paradigm of Edison versus Tesla, where there was a heated debate on DC or AC, which one is this? So DC today is considered more energy efficient because today our whole consumption pattern of electricity has changed. Most of our gadgets are DC powered. So why convert it to first AC, then go back to DC? Then we have all these semiconductor networking devices, ICT appliances. That brings me to the technologies, but which are the most profound technologies that we talk about? And most profound technology, the way I look at it are those that disappear. They weave themselves into the fabric of our everyday life until they are indistinguishable from it. Can anybody give me some examples of the oldest or the legacy profound technologies? The first most profound technology or invention, you might call it, was the fire when we invented. Now we take it for granted. Then in the recent century, we had that steam engine. Then we had electricity. Then we had, the recent one was a few decades back, internet. And now we have the Internet of Things. Internet of Things is going to actually encompass each and every aspect of our life. That is why it is being called this thing. My previous speakers have already covered that. I'll not get into details of that. But it is supposed to be one of the most disruptive technologies of the decade. But what it is all about, I'll just come to the definition of this thing. The way I look at it, Internet of Things is all about heterogeneous and aware devices interacting to simplify people's life in some way or the other. As a citizen, that's the way I would like to look at IoT. Not getting into the technical jargons and all that, but then it has its own challenges, a lot of use cases. Maturity needs a lot of work to be done by the ecosystem, and there are a lot of hurdles still. So one of the things is common harmonized standards, and then we need to have common interoperability issues and all that, which I'll be touching in a few moments. So what does IoT paradigm brings and challenges? It's basically global neural networks, homogeneous network of heterogeneous devices. Industrial IoT has a different paradigm, consumer IoT is a different thing. Services versus applications, infrastructure versus enterprise versus homes, end-to-end security in signal chain. These are some of the challenges that we need to address before IoT actually gets mass proliferated and becomes a profound technology that we start taking for granted. We do not react to it. It doesn't become apparent or as a showstopper for our services, this thing.
Kishore, you need to close.
Sure. So coming to how do we live in the city? So I'll just touch upon the assisted living in a smart city. It's one of the most imperative aspect of the smart health ecosystem, which we have not been hearing quite often. And what is ambient assisted living? It's a vision which is described as concept, product, services that combine new technology and social environment to improve the quality of life for people in all phases of life. It's a building block for addressing the challenges of demographic changes, which is aging society, keeping people at work productively and healthy, keeping people at home healthy, independent, and integrated, improving the delivery of care where and when needed. What is AL? This is the first level of this thing. Without AL devices and services, then we are basically dependent on the prevention aspect. Then we have the second aspect, compensation and support, and then independent and active aging. This is what we are looking at. And how do we integrate healthcare IT with this? I think my previous speakers have already addressed, but what it is all about aging people, this thing. You will say aging people industry, yes, it is an industry. China's government and society has devoted much attention to the development of aging society and needs of the aging people. And these are some of the kind of product system solutions that have been already developed for aging people. So for them, it's an industry. Okay? And another example is Japanese have developed some robot technologies because they are pretty good at robot designs. Then ICT has got its own role to play in assisted living. And then mobile ICT. Then you will say, what is this? These are a lot of standard development organizations. And what are these? These are some enabling technologies and protocols that all these smart things they work on. These are their names. And what is the question? The obvious question is, that's nice, but what do standards have to do with it? Standards is basically a key requirement for success of any solution in the market. Systems must be future-proof, grow and adopt with changing needs of users over time. There is a very need and large variety of users among older people. No vendor can offer a one-size-fits-all product. Technology must integrate with local infrastructure and service providers. So interoperability can be addressed in multiple layers, and it needs to be actually. Ability to exchange bits and bytes, network level, syntax level, semantic, and even user perspective level. And this, even we have some AL standard repository by one of the Alliance 2 in Europe, who have done some already work in this AL. And I'll just give you an example. What is the thing? If you're designing an AL system, which are the standards that are relevant to you? It is simply like USB. We have so many connectors. Which one is relevant to you? You might be connecting the other one with a different kind of connector on the other male-female side. And rivaling standards, yes, there are so many in place. The beauty of standard is that there are so many to choose from. Yes, it would be ideal to have one standard for every specific thing, but it's not to be. But we still need to harmonize. But then how does interoperability support mHealth? It enables convenient, robust data exchange, facilitates large-scale data sharing, promotes positive user experience, introduces new flexibility.
Sure, we did
I'm just touching on the already activities going on the IEC and ISO, this thing. That's the way, these are some of the standards already developed in assisted living by IEC, by ISO, by IEEE. There are a lot of things, and even Japan has already released a lot of standards. So my basic submission is that we need to have a particular focus on developing product system solutions for enabling the assisted living paradigm also. In India and BIS also, we have formed a new panel on smart infrastructure under which active assisted living or ambient assisted living is being addressed as one of the subgroups. I would invite your inputs to basically come join the force, bring in your value addition, your problems, your use cases, so that we could also, as in India, develop a strong, robust ecosystem for the thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kishore. I think a couple of things that we touched upon.
Yeah.
We need standards, we need security. As part of our Digital India launch, also our Prime Minister said that security is one of the most important things, because more the IT system that we're developing, if we don't bring in security, all our systems are going to collapse one day if we don't take care of it. And I think that's what he was trying to talk about. But there's more. We spoke about smart cities, and we spoke about Internet of Things being used for healthcare. My thought coming from Kishore is that it's very, very important to take care of security in Internet of Things, because if you actually Google the web, it says the next murder which is going to be without a person is actually going to be done by somebody on Internet of Things. For example, suppose there is we have for somebody we are monitoring the glucose level, and insulin is given based on the monitoring of glucose level. And if somebody is able to hack onto that device and change the insulin level that is going to be injected to the patient is going to die without really anybody touching the patient. So it's important that we actually look at security while we're developing products or processes for smart city. But so that goes for every system, whether it's banking or otherwise, but it's also certainly true for healthcare systems. Thank you. We now have the next speaker, which is Vikram, and most of you know Vikram. He is going to talk about how do we create the information highway for the smart cities? Because we all spoke about products, we all spoke about messages moving around, but how does that happen without the connectivity or bringing everything together? And that's what Vikram is going to touch upon. Thanks, Vikram.
Thank you, Nina. So, to begin with, I'm a hungry man now and tending to get angry too. So, a hungry man tends to get angry. So, do forgive me if I say some angry things. A couple of things I'll pick up straight from where Nina left off. Okay, fine. You need to be worrying about security for the Internet of Things, provided you have the Internet of Things. Right now in India, you don't have it. You're not likely to get it, not in the near future. So picking up, of course, my friend from Cisco will dwell some more on it, and I'll just pick up from a recent Cisco report where we are talking of the cloud, and much of the affordability for medical health or smart cities would, the data would have to be pulled off, or the services would have to be pulled off from the cloud. The Indian telecom networks as they stand today, with a given amount of spectrum, the latency, by the time you put in a request to the cloud, it processes and gives you back your data. That latency for the Indian networks will not allow you to have cloud-based services. So it is for government and all of us to take stock, what kind of network do you have there for your smart city initiative. So that's one part. I thought I'd just link up that thread. The other part is, I'm actually, every time I come to a smart city discussion, I need to educate myself a little more. How smart is smart? I mean, what's the takeoff point in being smart? So being an engineer, the way we see it is efficiency. Let's say output by input, is my efficiency increasing? And then possibly for a smart city, you will need to put together, whether for water or health or sanitation or let's say quality of air, what are the definite benchmarks and data points as they are measured, so that from year 0 to year 1 to year 2, you tend to become incrementally better. And then decide your policy and resources the way you put out your resources, that you're actually achieving that. One way that comes to my mind, which I thought I'd share, is it'll be a bit of a hike to get an entire city smart. So what the government seems to be doing is, one is greenfield smart cities like the one coming up in Raipur. I'm told it's quite interesting. Telangana seems to be doing something nice, Lavasa maybe, and the Delhi-Mumbai municipal corridor. These are 5 or 6 examples out of the 100. So in the brownfield cities, which have been identified, maybe 2 per state, being a democracy, not easy. The land bill is stuck, the GST is stuck, right? Now, who are the people who are going to put in the money to actually put out that network, or to buy the equipment, or to put in the apps to make it smarter? So let's talk a little bit about, where do you think the investments are going to come in? So currently I read the investments which are required as per the Urban Affairs Ministry, something like $1.2 trillion in 20 years. Divide that by 20, how much? Now the only allocations, firm allocations, are just about $2 billion. About 1.2 billion for smart cities, and FDI norms have been relaxed. 83 million allocated for digital India. Complete digital India is less than $1 billion, right? So the good news is that there is a focus within the government, and we from COI, the way we are seeing it is, earlier when we went to a state department, the IT secretary, whose much of his job was to lay out the SWAN network, is now, he's talking to us in more friendly terms. They actually have some actual plans. So that is something, actionable items would emerge as to how do you implement different parts of the Digital India initiative. Coupled to that, a data point again is that 600 million broadband connections till 2020, you got like 60 months. Okay, you divide that by 60 months, you got to add nearly 9 to 10 million broadband connections, and what we are talking of is at 512. The moment you put it at 2 meg, which is the intention after 2017, do you have the spectrum for it? Do you have right-of-way permissions? Do you have the government machinery enabled to provide you that resource, whether you put out and implement this smartness? So that's something which really would demand you know, a lot of focus. You mentioned about standards. So India will continue to, today we've got, let's say, most telecom operators globally have got around, let's say, 5 times the spectrum that we have. And we've got as much more population to cover, right? So will we be able to, you know, there's only a, by laws of physics, how much you can pump through a pipe, how much data can you pump through a pipe, right? So therefore, in terms of technology, so again, I'll fall back to Cisco and HP, some of the best you know, technology firms. Video compression techniques, everybody talks, how do you talk? The lower you go down to the bottom of the pyramid and you want to do a transaction, it will be video oriented. Now, how much of video can you pump in? And can we as Indians work on video compression technologies? And which would be specific to health, I believe a lot of health practitioners. If I put down, you know, a camera to see the inside, and that camera has to pass the video to an expert doctor over a network pipe, so what will be the quality of that video that will go to get your medical, let's say, you know, diagnosis?